Well, hey there. It's been a while. Wanted to chat about Archon Shards today and how you might use them. I think it's an interesting concept that we can upgrade our warframes in ways that don't involve just the slots that we have normally to work with. Um, but there's some pitfalls there, and I wanted to talk about one of them. I used to use this. This was my old build. Pay no attention to the armor here because I actually have armor in my Archon Shards, and that's going to be one of the main subjects we talk about here, but it was a triple umbral. I also used to use power drift there, um, but as you can see, 0 capacity left out of 78, so you have to use steel charge there, which means if you're not using melee, you're kind of wasting your aura. And obviously, since the old build didn't have fused, in fact, let's just go ahead and do that. So we were sitting at 370% power strength, which is pretty big. And we've got Arcane Energize to give ourselves our energy economy, so we didn't have to use any other energy bits, and everything else is basically just power, lots of power, and then, some ability to stay alive with a prime continuity in there just to make sure that our reservoirs don't run out like immediately when we walk outside of them. So pretty basic build, really. Arcane Avenger is nice to have in there. It's just, get some extra crit for doing silly things, but nothing that really affects the overall like way the frame plays, right? Because most of what you're going to do with the old build, I did run Eclipse here, not Empower, is you're going to turn on your buffs. You can have your 2 active, you're going to have your reservoirs up, and you'll have motes floating around you. You have 1,000,000,000 health and huge attack speed boosts, and you just shred everything with your weapons. Okay, great, sure. Still functions, no problem with the old build. You don't need Archon Shards, but Archon Shards exist. So what do you do with them? And the sort of kind of obvious thing you could say is like, hey, well, red shards give you more power. Obviously, you're stacking strength. More power, good, right? Just add more power, and you could do that. Number go up is I'm not going to say it's invalid, but it's a thing that is pretty tempting to do in Warframe. But it doesn't give you as many options, and options are good. So we're going to look at the new build and see what changed. So a couple things here. Put Archon Stretch in there. Well, now that means that we don't need Arcane Energize anymore because the little shock mote gives us infinite energy regen with Archon Stretch. We also don't need all 3 Umbrals anymore because we got additional strength from our Molt Augmented, because we were able to drop Energize from getting strength, and because we've got that strength here, we're missing only one piece of our survivability, which was armor. So we use Archon Shards to get armor back. Well, now what that opens up is our ability to have, 333 base strength. That goes all the way up to 393 when Molt Augmented is fully in power. Plus, hey, now we're running Growing Power, which means we can get even more strength and do silly things with our Eclipse stacking in terms of damage and all the boosts we get. So not only are we getting basically all the benefits we were previously, with a small exception that our health is a little lower. Notice 850 to 1070. That is about a 20% drop in the starting health. But if you look at the armor we've got, 61.3%. If we go back and look at Wisp itself. So base Wisp has 175 armor. And if we look at our old build here, a triple stacked Umbral gives you 192.5%, right? Which is effectively 2x more armor. So 175, you're going to get about 350 more armor. Well, that's only really two Archon Shards. So if you look, I've got 2 Archon Shards with 150 armor. Boom. Now we have the very nearly same amount of armor, getting that 475 armor. I think with the old build and no Archon Shards, it was like right at 500. Same survivability, pretty much. Your health doesn't matter. As soon as your moat goes down, you're going to have, uh, you know, 2,000 more health anyway, so that doesn't really affect anything. So those two Archon Shards alone basically cause us to be able to replace two important pieces of our build with options that give us more consistent and better output in the form of replacing Energize, which requires orbs, with Archon Stretch. And now we get free energy. And oh, by the way, now our Breach Surge hits at a longer range, and our reservoirs actually have a little bit wider radius for people to stand in, so you don't have to necessarily leave as much on things like defensive objectives and stuff like that. So that can be useful in and of itself, just to have that extra 45% range in there, all for the price of just slotting into those shards. Now all of a sudden it frees up an entire mod slot for us to do that, and then we get to switch around, have our strength come through other places, because now we have a free mod slot. That means we can do this thing, that frees up a free arcane slot, we can do this other stuff, and then these other three, I just slap more duration on. Do I need more duration? No, but at the time I had extra red shards, so we can do that. Other places, similar kinds of things. Slot in what you need, not necessarily more of the same, but what's going to allow you to unlock your build in new ways. What's going to give you a free mod slot that you needed to do other things with. So when you're looking for something like Mesa, okay, could you do just power strength? Absolutely. But instead, maybe what you should do is secondary critical chance on your red shards. And now all of a sudden you're looking at the ability to have a little more consistency on those regulator crits, because they're not going to crit on their own all the time. So if we look at this, upgraded, you can only put prime target crack or prime pistol gambit. The best you could possibly get is put creeping bullseye on there to get 200% instead of 180%, instead of 187%. Still only like 87% crit chance. You're not guaranteed to crit, but hey, add another 25% once or twice, and now all of a sudden, boom, boom, our secondary crit chance is, it's just gonna happen. That's great. Same thing with, getting parkour velocity. That frees up not having to deal with, mobile or some other thing if you're actually caring about moving around. I put a little extra armor on her as well, because I'm not, again, running umbral fiber or anything. So having that just a little bit extra armor means that I don't take as much damage. I don't have to worry about survival as much. So again, little pieces, adding things that you don't otherwise have gives you more ability to do things that you care about. And you can stack things. I don't know if he's got... So casting speed here means I don't have to have natural talent anymore, which is great, and we can stack a little bit of ability strength. That's actually that 10% ability strength gives me an extra mesmer skin, so that really is just a thresholding. And then from here, primary status chance is just so that I can run Phantasma and do even more stupid things with that. So again, your modding is really dependent on aiming towards what you want to do with a character, and unlocking effectively additional mod slots through your Archon Shard, which feels like a direct power upgrade in terms of utility, rather than just saying, well, I can do more of the same, right? So with my old build on Wisp, I could add an additional 50% power strength with all my red shards. Notice I have like one Tau Forged shard total. I have terrible luck with that, but it doesn't matter, because what I'm using it for, I just get bonuses that allow me to replace other things. So the fact that, hey, I can only add 50% power strength instead of 75% power strength, I'm not trying to do that on Wisp. Instead, what I'm doing is saying, hey, what can I replace entire mod slots with, and free up ways to do more interesting things rather than just more of the same. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. It's a short one. Hope you learned something. If not, maybe you still had fun. And as usual, catch you later.